I would like to call the November 13th board meeting to order. It is 5:30 p.m. There is a quorum present. Notice of this meeting has been posted in a time and manner required by law. Mr. Jones, would you please call the roll?
Sir, Cliff Williams.
Present.
Scott Carson.
Present.
Charles Perry.
Present.
Kyle Hickemeyer.
Present.
Ms. Paulette Traylor.
Present.
Ms. Nikita Lagway.
Present.
My name is Chad Jones. Thank you.
This time I'd like to turn it over to Dr. James for our invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Thank you so much. If I could have Jamie come up, please, to introduce our campus that will be recognized today. Thank you, Jamie.
Good evening, Board. Dr. James, Ms. DeLosa. We are excited to announce Turner Elementary is hosting the board meeting tonight, so I would like to introduce Dr. Michelle Hall, and she will bring her students up.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. James, Ms. DeLosa. I'm excited to be accompanied by a few of our Turner Elementary students to lead us in our pledges and prayer tonight. First, we will be led in the pledge to the American flag and pledge to the Texas flag by Sophia Rubio. And she's one of our outstanding fifth graders, followed by one of our fabulous fourth graders, Rosie Hernandez, who will lead us in prayer.
Please stand with your right hand over your heart and face the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Dear God, thank you for this day, for freedom and life, as school board members serving Willis ISD. Lord, please protect our campuses and give guidance for decisions needing to be made. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, you may be seated. Thank you, Sophia and Rosie. So I'd like to take this quick opportunity to highlight one great thing happening at our campus. At Turner, we pride ourselves in our many extracurricular activities that we offer for our students. These include our Fit Club, Media Club, Garden Club, Turner Tunes, Honor Choir, Board Game Club, and our Writing Cats. Writing Cats has been a long-standing fan favorite at Turner, and it's led by our literacy coach, Deanna Merle. This club brings writing to life for students. One of our parents recently expressed what a difference it's made in her own student when she wrote to Mrs. Merle about her student pouring her heart into her writing and expressing that Writing Cats has truly made a difference for her own child. One of the writing projects that our Writing Cats complete is their fall writing. Mrs. Merle teaches students to observe the sounds, smells, and sights around them, and then to put those thoughts onto paper. I brought with me tonight a couple of our Writing Cats to share their fall writing. And first we have Sophia Rubio.
So Miss Merle had us do an activity where we had to write about a box. We had no instructions. We didn't have a plan. She just sprung out on us to write about a box. So mine is called, iconically, The Box. The box. Think outside the box, they say. Don't stay in, come out. Don't hide in the box, they say. If you're meant to shine, come out. The box. A place to hide when you're scared, but for others, a cage they're scared of. The box. A place to challenge yourself. For some, a challenge itself. The box. Some hide inside the box to hide themselves. Some just decide to crawl out. The box is not evil. The box is not noble. The box is a place of perspective. The box is a place of innovation. The box.
Next we have Stella Alexander.
For what is success? For what is failure? If success is the act of not failing, and if failure is the act of not succeeding, then what comes in between those standards? I suppose mistakes are the answer. A mistake is when you mess up, as if you were walking through an unknown area with an upside-down map. You're on the right track, but there's just one little flaw that leads you to a dead end.
At this time, we're going to pause recognitions, and I would like to introduce Judge Mack, and he will be handling the recertification, the oath of office to our board members that have been reelected.
Thank you so much. And before I do that, I do want to say thank you for the privilege of doing this. That desk that you sit behind is holy ground. You protect our children. You educate our children. To everyone in this room, I would pray that you would go ahead and have disagreements, but don't do it disrespectfully. Pray for this district as much as some of you talk about this district, and this all changes. These are servant leaders that have stepped up to do what they do, and we honor you today, and we thank you for the privilege of this. Freedom is not free, and if you don't think there's hope, these children up here doing this, our nation has hope. And God doesn't care who's in the White House, but he cares who's in your house. So fix that. It's my honor and privilege today to call Miss Paulette Traylor forward. Someone said amen. There's enough Baptists in here. Traylor family is a legacy in this community. And Ms. Paulette, thank you for saying yes to the call of God. If you'll raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. You don't have to repeat this part, wait till I get it. In the name of the authority by the state of Texas that's invested in me, I, Paulette Traylor,
I, Paulette Traylor,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
execute
execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Willis ISD Trustee Position 2
of Willis ISD Trustee Position 2
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve,
preserve,
perfect,
perfect,
and defend
and defend
the laws of this state
the laws of the state
and the United States.
and the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you. Brother Perry. Coach Perry. You want him to be known as a brother or as a coach? Probably a brother. Because God is good, isn't he? Yes, sir. Amen. Coach, we appreciate you. Again, your legacy in this community, your family, what you've done for children. God bless you for that. God bless you. You don't look young enough to do it. Raise your right hand, sir. As you've done as a man of military and a man of integrity and a man of God. Repeat after me. It's by the authority invested in the state of Texas, authority of Texas, that I, Charles Perry. Repeat after me. I, Charles Perry.
I, Charles Perry,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office,
the duties of the office
Willis ISD Board Position 7
Willis ISD Board 67,
of the state of Texas,
state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve,
preserve,
protect,
protect,
defend
defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and this state.
and this state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
God bless you. Come on down here, young man. No. You think of men that have hearts of gold. Chad Jordan is at the top of that list. We're so thankful that you said yes, Chad.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure.
You'll raise your right hand, please. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I, Jeffrey Chad Jones,
I, Jeffrey Chad Jones,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
will I faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Willis ISD Trustee Position 6
of Willis ISD Position Number 6
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the absolute best of my ability
preserve,
preserve,
protect,
protect,
defend
defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States.
the Constitution and laws of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Where we're signing these, I just want to echo and thank you for your service and appreciate what you do for our community. Thank you for stepping up to the commitment to do the very best that we can do to make Willis ISD the absolute best district where people choose to come week in, week out, daily and yearly to be this district that people want to join. So thank you.
Sorry for that. It's a little out of our order, so we had to just pause for a second, but I would like Dr. Hall to continue with her recognitions.
Thank you. Good evening again, members of the board, Dr. James, Ms. DeLosa. Okay, so last but not least, I do have the pleasure of having a hand in choosing our district elementary student of the month. When I posed the question of who would be worthy of that honor, one name rose to the very top very quickly, and that is Sophia Rubio. Her teachers wrote about her saying, "Sophia Rubio is the whole package. She focuses on her learning and always tries to do better than asked. She goes the extra mile for each task. We can depend on her to be a model student and to work with others when called upon. She is well-rounded in our character pillars as well and always respectful to adults and peers. Everyone loves being in a group with Sophia because she's helpful and cares what each person has to say." I can vouch for that. She's wonderful. She is responsible as well. She takes care of her studies and thinks for herself. We enjoy Sophia's sense of humor and character every day. She makes us smile, and we are so proud of her academic successes and the young lady she is becoming. Thank you, Sophia, for being you. We're honored to recognize you as the Willis ISD Elementary Student of the Month.
All right, and if the board wouldn't mind standing up, scooting to the middle. We've gotten kind of good at this. Right. Big smiles. Congratulations. Thank you.
And at this time, I would like to introduce Aaron Breed, and he will be introducing our secondary student of the month.
Good evening. How y'all doing? All right. Good evening, Wildcats. It is my absolute honor to stand before you today to present the Student of the Month for Willis ISD for secondary schools. This month's recipient is a remarkable student athlete whose dedication and commitment are truly inspiring. She excels not only as a key member of the Willis High School Marching Band, but also as a standout competitor for the Willis varsity girls cross country team. Balancing her extracurricular activities with her academics, she consistently demonstrates exceptional focus and discipline, maintaining A's and B's in the classroom. This life of a student athlete is demanding, yet she manages it with grace. From the energy of Friday night football games to the early mornings of Saturday cross-country meets, all while staying on top of her schoolwork. Her relentless drive gives her the relentless drive to give her best day in and day out embodies the spirit of a true champion. Please join me in congratulating this outstanding student athlete for her hard work, determination, and unwavering commitment. Paloma de Paz.
Lower center. Perfect. All right. Big smiles. Perfect. Congratulations.
Okay. Tonight, we are excited to bring back to you our new program, Paws of Pride, where we are recognizing staff members for their contributions to our district. And these are submitted to a system that sends the email directly to the person to celebrate them. It allows everybody in the community, staff members, administrators, parents, anybody in the community to send a celebration to a person. So tonight we are bringing you 2 award recipients that we want to celebrate. And first I would like to introduce, and he's already aware of this, so Mr. Dawson Asher from Lagway Elementary. So knowing that the program is built around the core traits of passion, responsiveness, innovation, dynamism, and empathy, qualities that help shape a positive and supportive learning environment. So Dawson truly embodies the passionate aspect of our Pride values. Nominated by Cameron Wilder, principal of Lagway Elementary, Dawson is a proud graduate of Willis High School and has been a dedicated paraprofessional at Lagway Elementary since its opening in 2021. His role focuses on supporting one of our visually impaired students, and from day one, Dawson has gone above and beyond on his responsibilities. He immediately took the initiative to learn Braille and has invested time in ongoing training and research to enhance the student's learning experience. Dawson has even been instrumental in implementing specialized technology to help this student access the curriculum more effectively. Recently, when our visually impaired student attended classes at the Texas School for the Blind, Dawson stepped in to support another student with a communication device. And thanks to his guidance, this student began showing significant progress in just a few days. Dawson's work ethic, determination, and positive spirits shine through every day. We're incredibly proud to have him on the Willis ISD team. Please join me in congratulating Dawson on receiving this well-deserved recognition for his passion and commitment to making a difference. Anybody that is a family member, a colleague, parents, students, anybody that wants to be as part of the group photo with Dawson, please come on up.
Yes. So his Lagway family and anyone else. Come on.
Absolutely. Get on up there.
All right. We're waiting on the camera. Perfect. Can we just take like 2 steps this way? Not to be too particular. Thank you. Perfect. All right, big smile for Dawson. Congratulations.
Okay, and our second award recipient tonight is Mindy Matron, who's been nominated by several individuals, including Ashley Walker, Lori Smith, and Lisa Blevins, for her dedication and embodiment of all Pride traits. Ms. Matron is at Brabham Middle School, and she teaches biology, by the way. Ms. Matron's impact reaches far beyond the classroom as she consistently goes above and beyond to support her students and their families. As a science teacher, Mrs. Matron takes a hands-on approach to making complex topics engaging and accessible for her students. Her passion for teaching is evident in how she designs her lessons, making biology understandable and fun. Parents note that her communication is impeccable. She keeps them informed about classroom activities, letting them know exactly what their children are learning and how they can support them at home. And as one parent shared, if you can make biology fun, you can make anything fun. Her dedication doesn't stop with her teaching methods. She is known to respond to emails even on evenings and weekends to address questions and ensure students stay on track. Her innovative approach and strong organizational skills have been instrumental in helping her students navigate challenging materials successfully. Another parent described her as a jewel and a blessing, grateful for the way Ms. Matron has helped her daughter achieve a level of understanding that had previously been challenging. Ms. Matron is a prime example of what's good at Willis ISD. Her empathy, responsiveness to parents' needs, and unwavering support set her apart. We proudly recognize her as a Positive Pride Award recipient tonight. So help me in congratulating her. Please come on up for the photo. Mr. Matron, anybody else?
Yes, anyone who would like to be in the photo, please come on up.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. President. We missed item number 4, the reorg of the board.
Yes, sir. Do we have a motion for the reorganization of the board? At this time, with the new members swearing in, do we have a motion in order to keep, First Lady? Okay, so the president's spot is me. Vice President is Paulette Traylor. Secretary, Mr. Chad Jones. And members are Ms. Nikita Lagway, Coach Perry, Scott Carson, and Cliff Wiggins. That is how it currently is. And unless someone wants to change it, then we need a motion to, yes, sir.
Make a motion that President be Kyle Hennemeyer, Vice President be Paulette Traylor, and the Secretary be Chad Jones.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second by Mr. We have a motion by Mr. Williams, a second by Mr. Jones. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and at this time, I'd like to introduce Megan Ballard, and she will be doing her Cats on Patrol Award.
Good evening, board. Today I come to you to recognize one of our custodians at Willis High School, Miranda, if you can please come forward, and Mr. Honeycutt. Mr. Honeycutt has nominated her. Miranda said something, and she saw something and said something at Willis High School that led to keeping our students safer. And so we would like to recognize her today for making that effort and keeping our high schools a safer environment for our kids and our staff to be.
Like 2 steps. Perfect. Miss Paula, I can't see you. Mr. King's too tall. Perfect. Congratulations.
Okay, and at this time, I would like to introduce Miss Katrina King. She is our health sciences teacher at the CTE Center, and she has a special recognition.
We switched.
You switching?
Yeah.
All right.
Good evening, Board.
This
My
is
name is
Katrina.
Tommy Reed, and we do have Katrina King and Michael Robinson here. We are the officers of the ATPE, which is the Association of Texas Professional Educators here in Willis. And we also have Donna Ward with us, who is our regional director for ATPE. And we just wanted to let y'all know that we appreciate everything that you do, and we wanted to thank you for what you do. ATPE is the largest community of educators. Our membership is made up of people who are vested in public education, from custodians to public members to cafeteria workers, bus drivers, teachers, paraprofessionals, administrators, and even superintendents. We may not always agree with what y'all do, but we know as leaders, we don't always know all the facts also. So we want you to know that we support you in what you do for us and making Willis a better place to be, a place that people want to come, a place they want to send their kids to get a good education. And to show you that appreciation, we've given you a bag of popcorn, the Willis colors there, and we have also paid for the school board members to be public members of ATPE. With that membership, you will receive access to ATPE's Teach the Vote, where you will be able to do research on candidates, public education views, along with reports from lobbyists on educational policies, ATPE's Advocate blog, ATPE's new magazine, and a new ATP online community which offers members a 24/7 opportunity to connect with colleagues across the state, to brainstorm for ideas and solve challenges. And as a public member, you'll also get to save hundreds of dollars through our exclusive menu that we have of 25 different services and discounts throughout the state. Once again, we want to thank you for what you do, and we're going to give Ms. Ilanese the certificates to hand to y'all for your membership here later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we get a picture?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Do you want to do board members right in the middle, or? Yeah. You don't want to stand up in the middle there?
Yeah.
Just find Mr. Hagan there.
I was going to say, just find Mr. Hagmeyer. Perfect.
Okay, Megan Ballard will come back up, and she has a special recognition to announce as well.
Good evening. Tonight we are joined by Ed Shackelford, Director of Operations for the San Jacinto River Authority, and Brian Foster from the Lake Conroe Division of the San Jacinto River Authority. Let them kind of make their way up here and the lag way. So on behalf of Willis ISD, I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to the team at the San Jacinto River Authority for their swift and generous assistance during the evacuation of Lagway Elementary School. Their support and readiness to provide mutual aid was crucial in ensuring the safety and well-being of our students, staff, and entire school community. We are deeply grateful for their professionalism, teamwork, and dedication in responding to this situation. Their efforts made a significant difference, and we are thankful for your partnership and commitment to the welfare of our district. Tonight, we would like to present them with a token of appreciation crafted by students at Lagway Elementary School. Thank you again, San Jacinto River Authority, for your invaluable help.
Lastly, we have one more recognition. I would like to introduce the generous folks from Willis Supermarket. A couple weeks ago, Willis Supermarket, under the general management of Sam Prosla, celebrated 15 years under his direction. And in doing a special event for their community, they made the grand gesture of contacting the school district to make a special donation to the district. And they sat down with Dr. James and really talked about what was important to them. And really what he expressed is early education as being the foundation of our students' lives. So he ended up donating $7,000 to Roark Early Education Center. And it was a great party that day, and we have with Sam, we have Miss Melissa Hernandez, their office manager, Katia Jordan, the office assistant, Mario Gonzalez, their grocery manager, and then y'all showed up and I don't have your names. Tell me your names. Okay, wonderful. Thank y'all all so much for your support of the school district, and we really appreciate it.
Awesome. We could take 3 All right, big smiles for money.
And that wraps up our out of order recognition. Sorry about that. It's not something we do every day. So moving on, Mr. Hagemeyer.
The board will now hear the public comments. The board will hear public comments from the audience only during the public comment portion of the meeting. The public comment portion of the meeting will be no longer than 30 minutes in total. Each speaker will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to address the board. Groups of 5 or more who wish to express the same viewpoint on an issue must appoint a representative to speak for the group who will have 3 minutes to present unless the topic is an item on the board agenda. Please respect the privacy of others. Refrain from identifying students, employees, and other community members by name. I will determine whether a speaker has attempted to solve a matter administratively through the resolution channels established by policy. If not, the speaker will be referred to the appropriate policy to seek resolution. Disruption of this meeting will not be tolerated at any time. Per board policy, the board does not respond during the public comment portion of the meeting. Our first speaker is Diane Hibner.
I am pleased to offer my list of thankful acknowledgments during this season of Thanksgiving. I am thankful for our country's space technology and exploration program, which is one of the bases of our educational challenges. I am thankful for American resilience, which allows we the people to have hope and prosperity. I am thankful for our American freedoms as outlined in the Bill of Rights, which is a part of our national pride. I am thankful for the safety and security provided by our police, firemen, and first responders. I am thankful for our WISD superintendent, who provides a vision for our district as well as an educational direction for our children. I am thankful for the WISD professional and support staff who are responsible for the implementation of the educational goals and policies of our school district, as well as the continued maintenance of our school facilities. I am thankful for the WISD school board, who are elected by we the people to serve the best interests of we the people in the education of our children. And lastly, we the people are thankful for the resignation of board member position number 5. We appreciate his service. We also appreciate his realization that it is time to move on and pursue other ventures in his life. May all of you have a blessed Thanksgiving, remembering that family is most important and your community is as great as you make it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Bob Holden.
Thank you. Now, congratulations to all 3 of you board members who were reelected. Overwhelmingly, I'd like you to note, though, that wasn't the same in Conroe, and you know that I worked both. They had 4 board members also up for election, and all 4 board members were defeated. That, I believe it sends a message that the people are back, and we're getting that same message and sentiment reflected at our national and state election level. And I believe, I know it's controversial, but some recent state laws I think will help you improve the education. Working so much overseas, starting in the 80s, I got tired of getting laughed at how stupid Americans are. And we've got a long ways to go to bring us back, a long ways to go. Other good news, please visit the websites mctxgop.org and electionsmctx.org, including Willis' website. All 3 are significantly improved, reflecting, I think, improved operation of the websites that cover, the organizations that cover. Here at Willis, Willis ISD, much improvement is being noticed. In that light, you may soon get additional good news from the federal level, I hope, and I happen to be a fan of some of those bills at the state level and believe they also will make things easier for you to improve production of your only real product, student knowledge, which has been lagging so badly in this country. We are at the bottom of the world, and you all know that. American students seem to have no idea what scientific proof and what it means is. They also lack knowledge of history and apparently biology, or they would realize that our climate is acting completely normally based on history. We cannot change it, it's impossible, and implementing this new Green Deal is so destructive of our nature and a poisoning of our earth, and at a level no one could ever have imagined. And the goal of eliminating carbon dioxide, fortunately, is impossible since the vast majority is created by the oceans. But they would then also know that eliminating carbon dioxide eliminates life on Earth, totally. End all the communist indoctrination, please. Teach students how we have been repeating what has happened before, from the Bolshevik Revolution, the Cultural Revolution, to Hitler, starvation in Ukraine, and on, all the way back to the Romans. And we have been following that path. Fortunately, it has been interrupted. I'm no longer cleaning my firearms, nor do I expect my house to be attacked anymore, whereas I did see that coming before. We have taken down a lot of Democrat hero statues, but they and all of our history needs to be reintroduced to our students so that they can appreciate how we got here. And we must end producing a product, student knowledge, which is so bad that people in other countries begin laughing at it. And I am very, very thankful for what's happening at the national level.
Thank you, Mr. Holder.
My grandson will probably no longer be being shot at as he is every night right now, protecting us.
Our next speaker is Scott Baker.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. The election is over, and the voters have spoken quite decisively on a number of things. The bonds, as well as national and state issues. I'm calling on this board to do a 4-year moratorium on any more debt. No more bonds, no more debt, for multiple reasons. That will give us a chance to pay down the existing debt, which is very large, but it will also give us a chance to innovate and see where the growth actually lands. The reality is school choice is coming, whether you like it or not. It is another result of the election that just occurred. The governor has made it a priority in this legislative session to pass school choice. That is going to impact our budget and our student body. If only 5% of the students of this district take advantage of school choice, that will negate all growth from last year and some. In business, we talk about return on investment, ROI. We spend now more money per student than we ever have in history, and our return on investment is frankly not good. We need to strip down to the basics, ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, reading, writing, and arithmetic, and get down and nail the fundamentals. Make sure that our students have a world-class education when they walk out the doors of our facilities. And based on the testing scores, they simply aren't getting that right now. We have an opportunity now to not only invest, this isn't about money, but also to innovate, to objectively look at what we're doing and how we can realistically improve with the current budgets. It's possible. We can do it. I want to commend you for your choice of Dr. James as our new superintendent. From what I've seen, I think she was the right choice. I think she's absolutely the person to do this job. But we absolutely must do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Standing informational and ad hoc items. Item A, safety report.
Good evening, board. So, on October 23rd, a large-scale gas leak and road closure caused the need for an evacuation and reunification activation of Lagway Elementary School. I would like to take some time tonight to recognize the different groups that made this all possible and a success. So when I recognize you, if you would please stand so that everyone in the room is able to kind of applaud you. First, I would like to recognize any Lagway students, parents, and staff. Now I would like to recognize Brown Middle School admin that stayed after, prepared to welcome these students and their staff as when they arrived to this school. But now I'd like to thank our SROs and other first responders who not only did their car rider line routes, but then they stood on FM 830 for hours on end, waiting for the students to arrive on the buses when they got to Bravo Middle School. The real heroes of it all are bus drivers. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then last but certainly not least, the central office admin team that went ahead and prepared the reunification site for Lagway at Brabham with the partnership of their admin team. We couldn't have asked for a better practice round. We've gotten a lot of great feedback and we're able to take this back and improve our emergency plans. I've studied this for years and it was kind of surreal to see it happen in real life, but I couldn't give any more positive feedback to the district on how almost flawless this response was. So I just wanted to take time in this report to recognize everyone and for all of the effort that they did that day to make sure every student was accounted for and everyone made it home safely. A few other updates that I want to kind of inform y'all of. Our front entrances of the project was completed on the 31st of October. We started training our campuses the following day. Our front entrances to all instructional facilities will be locked when students return from Thanksgiving break. This is going to give our campuses that extra layer of protection at that front desk. And we are sending out specialized communication for each campus via their principal from now until they return from Thanksgiving break. So the parents and our visitors will be receiving that information so they're not completely confused when they get to the door and it's not opening like they're used to. So you'll see it's like a ring doorbell camera situation. They'll ring it, they'll explain to the front desk why they're there, and then the front desk receptionist has the ability to buzz them through. If they see an issue, they're already able to hit the panic button or notify the SRO on campus that there is a potential problem at that front desk before we have even allowed them entrance into our building. I'd like to thank technology and everyone who's been involved in this project because it has truly been a team effort to get this done. The next update is in partnership with the Sheriff's Office. We have updated our lockdown drill curriculum for our students. We are focusing on the campus SRO relationship with the students, trying to build that positive relationship before they're getting in trouble with an SRO, so that they have that relationship already built where they can ask those questions and get the answers before they're already in trouble, or we want them to see the SRO as someone that is a friend and that they can reach out to if they have those questions. So from pre-K to third grade, their SRO that's assigned to their campus will be reading this book. This is a book that other districts around us do read to their students as well. And then from 4th to 12th graders, we'll kind of have a discussion with their SROs, and we'll be learning about the consequences of making threats at school or about school. So it's kind of hoping to mitigate those issues as well. Last little updates for the month of October. It was Fire Prevention Month. Every pre-K through 5 campus was visited by the fire department and received fire prevention training. We began playground safety walks with each principal. We submitted the safety plans to the Texas School Safety Center that were required for this school year, and our first responders got to do their campus walks and receive their emergency plans.
Item B, student enrollment.
All right, I'm not sure the exact number that's printed in your board book, but I do have an updated number as of today. Our current enrollment is now 9,318 students today. That's an increase of 361 from this time last year. That's 180 at the high school, 161 at our elementaries, and 20 at the middle schools. And just to give you a little perspective about the fluidity of the district, since our last board meeting, we've actually increased 2, but that's about 150 withdrawals and 150 enrollments also happening at the same time. So it's constant throughout the year, but that's where we stand as of today.
Item C, community outreach, Christmas in the Barn.
Hello again. I am Tommy Reed. I'm a business teacher at the CTE building at the high school. I'm also a co-sponsor of DECA with Cheryl Jehovac. 6 years ago, when the CTE building was built, we began having Christmas in the Barn, and it was designed for elementary age students as a community outreach project to help us showcase the programs at the building. A lot of the programs were brand new to the district, and we wanted everyone to know what was going on. And so 2 years ago then, we opened it up to other clubs and organizations at the high school, and we've outgrown the Ag Barn, and we're now in the CTE building and the Ag Barn. And this year, DECA is taking the lead on it, and they're also wanting to do a toy drive to benefit the Resource Center. This year is going to be held on December the 13th. These are some pictures that we had from last year. We had activities, costume characters, we had Santa Claus there. The kids would create a bag, they got goodies they could go through. Had snowball fights outside. Do the next one. Okay. The Spanish National Honor Society, they came and did balloon animals and face painting. HOSA did ornament making, decorating. The cosmetology did hair accents. As you can see, we had a full house. Law and Public Service Academy did a Dent-A-Kid, and Coco Construction Trades did Santa's Workshop. Some of the teachers did the edible snowflakes. It's an all-encompassing thing that goes on. So on December 13th from 5 to 6:30, if you have nothing to do, come by. Bring your elementary age kids. It's a fun evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Bilingual ESL program evaluation report.
Good evening, Dr. James, board members, and Ms. DeLosa. Our next presentation is an overview of the bilingual ESL program. Oops. According to their home language survey, 18.5% of our student body in Willis ISD speak Spanish as their native language. Interestingly enough, Swahili is the second most spoken language, but only represents 0.1% of our population. A few other languages spoken in our district include Bengali, Japanese, Portuguese, and Russian. This graph represents the distribution of emergent bilingual students in Willis ISD. Emergent bilingual refers to students who are in the process of learning a second language while developing proficiency in their native language. Emergent bilingual students may be enrolled in a bilingual program where instruction occurs in both languages, or an ESL program in which all subjects are taught in English only, but they receive linguistic support. Willis High School had the largest number of emergent bilingual students with 27.3%. Cannon and Hardy Elementary have the next two largest populations, which is expected as our district's bilingual program resides on both of these campuses. The next slide reviews our 5th grade STAR reading scores over the last 3 years. The top bar graph and chart show the percentage of all students approaching grade level. The bottom bar graph and chart show the percent of emergent bilingual students tested in Spanish approaching grade level. 5th grade students went down on the STAR reading exam by 2 percentage points from 2023 to 2024. Our emergent bilingual students decreased by 12% from 2023 to 2024. Our English 1 and English 2 EOC scores experienced a similar decline. English 1 EOC, represented by the top bar graph and chart, decreased by 11% from 2023 to 2024. English 2 EOC, represented by the bottom bar graph and chart, decreased by 7% from 2023 to 2024. TELPAS, or Texas English Language Proficiency Assessment System, evaluates how well English language learners are progressing in their academic English skills. The goal is to reach advanced high and be exited from the program. Most of our students scored intermediate or advanced. TELPAS assesses emergent bilinguals' listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills. The two charts on the top represent our scores in 2023. The bottom two charts represent our scores in 2024. Our students perform better in listening and reading, and our scores are mostly similar from 2023 to 2024 for advanced and advanced high, with the exception of reading, which declined slightly. For the next part of my presentation, let's define a few terms. TEC is the Texas Education Code. LPAC stands for Language Proficiency Assessment Committee. This committee is charged with ensuring emergent bilingual students receive the best instruction possible for their individual needs. Reclassified means to exit the program or be reclassified as English proficient. SIOP stands for Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol. This is the academic language used to help EB students learn and practice English at school while learning the same content as their peers. MOY is middle of the year, and EOY is end of the year. I will be referring to these terms as we continue. The Texas Education Code, TEC, states that LPAC may reclassify, which means to exit, an emergent bilingual student at the end of the school year if they receive a passing STAR reading or English EOC score and achieve advanced high on TELPAS. Willis ISD reclassified 30 students at the end of the 23-24 school year. 20 of those were from Willis High School. This is important because our emergent bilingual students often enter high school with little to no English and must work extremely hard to acquire the language while earning the credits needed to graduate with their cohort. Willis High School did a great job supporting and advancing these students. In addition, all reclassified or exited students will be monitored for 2 academic years. Currently, we have 316 students in our alternative language program, ELP. This is our bilingual program, again, where they learn the academic curriculum in both languages. In the ELP program, our emergent bilingual students are instructed by a Spanish-speaking teacher who is not bilingual certified. We are required to file an exemption for all teachers who serve as the instructor for a bilingual program but does not have bilingual certification. We filed 17 exemptions. We are also required to file a waiver for all English teachers who are instructing EB students in the general education classroom, but are not ESL certified. We filed 43 waivers. Putting this all together, how will we improve our emergent bilingual STAR scores and reclassify, otherwise exit, more EB students? First, we need an extensive professional development program. In October, we provided training for our bilingual ESL paraprofessionals on effective collaboration with students, teachers, and parents to support our students' academic success. Upcoming professional development for our teachers include making content comprehensible, the SIOP model. Remember, the SIOP stands for Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol, which is again the academic language used to help EB students learn and practice English at school while learning the same content as their peers. This is a particularly important training for our core teachers. 7 Steps to a Language-Rich Interactive Classroom, K through 12, is another professional development. This is a 7-step process that creates a language-rich classroom environment in which all students can thrive and succeed. And finally, we will be doing professional development for LPAC compliance. The LPAC, which is the Language Proficiency Assessment Committee, is charged with ensuring emergent bilingual students receive the best instruction possible for their individual needs. This training ensures all members of the committee are in compliance. The LPAC meets to ensure compliance for the middle of the year and the end of the year. In addition to ensuring our bilingual and ESL staff receive the training they need to be successful in the classroom, we have made getting all bilingual and ESL teachers properly certified a priority by helping them to set goals to obtain their certification, by encouraging them to attend needed training such as Region 6 Mini ESL Certification Prep Academy, by providing district professional development specific to their success on the certification exam, and by offering incentives for obtaining their certification by the end of the year. In addition, we have increased the stipend for bilingual teachers to $4,000. We will hold a job fair on December 5th, making finding bilingual ESL certified teacher a #1 priority, and we will provide ongoing support and growth through professional development for all our bilingual and ESL teachers. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Mine is on the 43 waivers that we wrote, are those mainly elementary teachers that we're having waivers
Yes,
for?
yes, ma'am, they are.
Do we still have that limit, like within 3 years that we hire them, they have to be ESL certified?
I'm sorry.
That is now in our.
I know we had it in effect several years ago, that they have X number of years to get their ESL certification.
We're working with the principals and Dr. Glasgow to get them to that point, yes ma'am.
But no time limit anymore.
It has not been a time limit, that had gone away 2 years ago, I believe.
But in the past, we have had it, probably.
Yes,
But,
we have.
yeah.
Any additional questions?
Thank you. Item E, RDA, results-driven accountability.
Our next presentation is RDA, which is Results-Driven Accountability for the 23-24 school year. What is RDA? This is a data-driven framework that emphasizes improving student outcomes for special populations. RDA combines compliance monitoring with an increased focus on the actual educational results achieved by these students belonging to the designated subpopulations. RDA aims to ensure that school districts not only meet federal and state requirements, but also demonstrate measurable improvements regarding academic achievement, graduation rates, and post-secondary readiness. In addition, the Individuals with Disabilities Act IDEA requires each state education agency to provide for the collection and examination of data to determine if significant disproportionality based on race, ethnicity, or special population is occurring. I provided you with a disproportionality example, which is the rate of special education students in ISS compared to the rate of all students assigned to ISS, and I provided the calculation. The 2024 RDA report provided data analysis for the following special populations: bilingual, English as a second language, which is ESL, and emergent bilinguals, which is EB. Other special populations, which include foster care, homeless, and military, and then special education. These numbers are based on the enrollment data taken on the snapshot date. For this school year, the date was October 25th, 2024. This slide shows the different areas reviewed by RDA for bilingual ESL, EB, other special populations, and special ed. As you can see, STAR 3 through 8 and EOC passing rate, dyslexia STAR 3 through 8, reading language art passing rate, the graduation rate, dropout rate, and dyslexia representation are analyzed for all three of the groups. In addition, for bilingual ESL and EB, they look at TELPAS, and for special education, they also look at STAR Alternative 2 participation rate. Special education also looks at placement. This is the placement rate in early childhood programs, the general education classroom, separate setting placements, and the overall special education representation of our district. RDA also analyzes special education disproportionality for disciplinary measures, including ISS, OSS, and expulsion. RDA methodology establishes cut rates for each accountability subset, and then performance levels are assigned. Our report includes the following performance levels: report only, no data, not assigned, special analysis, 0, 1, 2, or 3. The goal is to receive a 0. If you receive a 3, a strategic support plan is necessary. The following is the performance level summary for each program area. We are required to write a strategic support plan for all areas receiving a 3 and submit to the state by December 20th. Our strategic support plan will be addressing these areas: ESL STAR 3 through 8 passing rate for math, science, and social studies; ELP, which is our alternative language program, STAR 3 through 8 passing rate for science and social studies; and emergent bilingual STAR 3 through 8 passing rate for math. In addition, the SPED STAR 3 through 8 passing rate for science and social studies. At the last board meeting, we reviewed the district improvement plan. Many of the strategies aimed at improving the STAR 3 through 8 scores will be implemented for all students, including these 3 special populations. A few additional strategies that pertain directly to these special populations include: for bilingual, an additional translated communication, collaborative team participation, targeted training with incentives for bilingual and ESL certification, and professional development on sheltered instructional strategies. For special education, collaborative team participation, increased student progress monitoring, and targeted professional development on Tier 3 interventions. Once our strategic support plan is submitted in December, we will participate in a teleconference with TEA to review our plan. In the spring, I will present again at our meeting with TEA. I will report what we discussed during our meeting with TEA and our progress monitoring with the strategies included in our plan. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item F, special education TEA school monitoring.
Good evening. I am going to be reviewing the Texas Education Agency's report of Willis ISD Special Education Department and Program. This is a cyclical review that occurs every 6 years. They're in cycle 5, and we completed that. It was conducted between April and June is when TA completed their review of our program. We received our report over the summer. That is available on the TA website. All reports are public for each district that has been reviewed in each of the cycles. You can Google it, TA cyclical review, and it will come up. So a full report can be found there. The purpose of the cyclical review is to make sure that we are in compliance with that Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. But more than that, it gives us an opportunity to have a review of our program as we're in a stage right now where we are looking at our program, making growth, looking at what changes, what improvements we can make. And so it helps us also have that transparency with our community. So it was a welcome audit, as you may, of our program. All right, the cyclical review concentrates on, there are 7 pillars in special education that are listed there. Each of those areas was addressed. The way that they did that is Texas Education Agency provides us with the names of 24 students that we submit those folders to TEA. Those folders are that student's special education record. And they're looking at these 7 areas throughout those 24 folders. Among those 7 areas I review with my team, there are about 85 questions that they're going through and answering. So it's a very in-depth overview of those folders. These were the findings. Now, the compliance review includes both a policy review, so they're looking at what our district has put in operating guidelines in the legal framework, as well as what board policies we have. Do they meet the requirements of IDEA, as well as other guiding legislation and laws that we follow? We were 100% compliant in all areas for the policies that we have in place. In the folder review, that's those 24 folders. So that column at the end, it shows you the percent of compliance. I was very happy to see we did have compliance in most areas. The one area we did have some findings of non-compliance was in IEP development, which quite frankly I expected in terms of what I saw when I came in. There are always areas to improve, and that's one of the places that we were already addressing. So it helped to just bolster that is an area for us to look at. So we're going to dive into what that non-compliance looks like. But before we get into that, I wanted to point out there were 3 successes, that's the wording used by TEA, that were found in review of our folders. The first was student involvement. So making sure that students are involved in their ARD meetings, or admission review and dismissal meetings, to the extent appropriate. We have great parent involvement, whether that is in person, virtual. That is something that I'm very passionate about, is parent involvement, meaningful parent participation, so that was great to see. As well as staff knowledge and growth mindset. That came from a survey that was sent out. The results of the survey aren't in here. It is in that full report though, okay? So this shows every area of non-compliance. The top 3 for TA, if less 2 or fewer of the folders have an error, they allow us to do pre-finding corrections. A lot of times those are clerical. It's not considered a systemic issue. So in full transparency, those are the areas in IEP development and in transition. There were some clerical things that we did clean up before the findings. The 2 at the bottom are where we had those areas of non-compliance. So more than 2 folders were found to have errors. Those connect to, in the Code of Federal regulations to specific areas. The bottom one is where I'm going to start, and that has to do with present levels of academic achievement and functional performance. That is the foundation of our special ed department and programming for each individual student. So that is the collective information of how students are performing, where their needs are, where their strengths are. That then guides what are our goals for them, what accommodations do they need, what is the best placement, so that IEP, that individualized education plan, is based on that PLAF. That is an area where we had some weakness, but it was specifically in what is titled the impact statement. So when we looked into that non-compliance, it was not so much that we did not have impact statements, it was that they were maybe too general in nature. So as an example, or as a non-example, an impact statement of the student's disability and reading comprehension affects that student or impacts that student. It manifests as that student has difficulty reading. That's by nature the disability. An impact statement is going to be specific to how that disability impacts that student, right? So a student with a disability in reading comprehension has difficulty with identifying the main components, right? And then we have a goal to help them with that. So while our impact statements were there, a lot of them just were too general in nature to create an individualized education plan. Okay, so that's one area. The second area in IEP development was then on annual goals. So again, we make those annual goals based on that class statement. That one, there are many pieces of the annual goals. There's 4 components that are required in the goal: a time frame, a condition, the behavior, and then the mastery criteria. When I looked at the non-compliance, for most of them, a time frame would be within 36 instructional weeks. That wording may not have been there, okay? There's also in the program we use drop downs that tells who's implementing the goal, how often the parents are going to be updated on that goal, and there were some places where those drop downs had been missed, okay? So those are the 2 areas where we were found to have some systemic non-compliance, okay? Moving forward, so based on that, I've been working on a corrective action plan since we got this report back. Just like Dr. Clardy was saying, I've been meeting with Texas Education Agency on that corrective action plan. It was approved. We've been working through that. Our corrective action plan is really focused on the training piece, on what are those impact statements and why is it important for our students. And so on August 9th, we were able to pull together 108. That is all of our special ed teaching staff district-wide, and bring them together, and I presented on those PLAF, impact statements, annual goals. So we knocked out that training before school even started. Another area of our corrective action plan is the oversight of that. So TEA has put out a rubric for to monitor the compliance with what's required in those PLAFs and in the goals. So we are having submissions of certain IEPs and then rating them on that rubric. So that's going to be our oversight, as well as individual compliance, going back to the folders that were found non-compliant and looking at those, and then systemically making sure that we have the oversight of the implementation of what has been trained on. The other area, House Bill 4545 was part of the cyclical review, really focusing on, do we have the board policies, did we establish accelerated learning committees, and were accelerated instruction plans in place, and we were 100% compliant on House Bill 4545. And the dyslexia program program was also part of the cyclical review. Each of these areas was reviewed as part of that, and our dyslexia program was found 100% in compliance. And some core elements that we were given kudos on were our early intervention and identification, our program of instruction, and our parent notification procedures. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Item G, map data.
All right, good evening, board, Dr. James, Ms. DeLosa. I have the opportunity this evening to share our district beginning of the year map data with you. Before we get into the data, I wanted to share with you a couple of important things to know about MAP testing. It is actually called MAP growth. That's the assessment that the students interact with. It is an adaptive test, which means it starts asking the students questions, and if they're getting them correct, the questions continually get more and more difficult as it goes on. If the students are getting the questions incorrect, it eases up and gives them easier questions at that point. It's trying to find that sweet spot of what we call of where they're ready to learn, okay? It communicates that ready to learn piece to us through a RIT score, which is how they scale the data. We like to call that the ready to learn place. And through that RIT score, we're able to kind of compare across grade levels. So that would mean if a 4th grade student and an 8th grade student both had the same RIT score in like the reading assessment, then their reading achievement is at the same level. So it's kind of like charting a student's height when you mark it on a wall. You're able to see their progress over time, okay? There is tons of data provided from students taking this assessment. There are certain reports in there that are more useful for teachers to use, campus profile reports that are better for campuses to focus on. I think there's over 17 pre-made reports, and then you can build your own and manipulate what you want to see on certain data screens. The two that I want to share data with you tonight from are two that we dig into pretty heavily at the district level, and that is the Student Growth Summary Report and the Projected Proficiency Report. I think it's also important tonight to know that even though we're talking about this in November, this is beginning of year data, okay? And so to kind of paint a picture of how beginning of the year this data is, our MAP window opened on August 27th, and it closed on September 9th, 11th, somewhere around there, okay? So students only had about a week and a half, 2 weeks of instruction before they went into this assessment, and that's why this data tonight is a baseline. It's all about where our students started the year, so that when we interact with the assessment again at middle of the year, we can see what their growth is, okay? So you're gonna see tonight where students started, okay? That first report, that Student Growth Summary, when you look at the chart, we're looking at bars and diamonds. So when you look at the blue bar, that is where students actually performed. That's how much growth they had. And of course, we're trying to meet the diamond. That diamond communicates to us what they were projected to be able to do, okay? So we're really looking at, it's a norm test where they're compared against other students who take this test across the nation. So when we're looking at this report, we're really looking at, did they make a greater or less than typical amount of growth? Okay, so on this slide, you can see the overall picture of the district and then our 2 secondary campuses. So when we're looking at this, from the district report, you can see that 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 6th met their projected growth. They made greater than a typical amount of growth. And then it's obvious from this report that 5th, 7th, and 8th did not. And so, of course, that's our areas of concern and need. And from the 2 middle school charts that you see underneath that data, you can see that, you know, we have some work to do at middle school right now. And that is where a lot of our focus is at, and some of the action steps I'll share with you at the end. I do think it's important to know and to celebrate some places. So just because they didn't meet, the bar is not as tall as where the diamond projected them to be, doesn't mean that they didn't grow at all. So to give you an example of that, 8th grade, at this time last year, there was no blue bar, okay? There was no blue bar there. There was just a very lonely diamond in that column. So some of the things that we have put in place are making some impact. We just have to look at, are we growing students as fast as we need to grow them and closing those gaps, okay? And then you can see the picture of our elementary campuses right here. And you'll see some of those same trends that feed into our district numbers that you just saw. 3rd and 4th grade met their projected growth across every elementary campus. 5th grade is definitely one of those areas of concern that we are focusing on. And then you will see pockets of 2nd grade. And I think that's important to know, because if we don't close those gaps right there at 2nd grade, that can turn into a bigger challenge than it is right now. We do have 1st graders that also took part in the assessment, but that is the first time they've ever taken a MAP assessment, so there's no growth data for them yet. You'll get to see kind of where they are at the middle of the year when they have those 2 tests. All right, backwards, sorry. And then we can go a little quicker through the RLA data, because honestly, the trends are exactly the same. When you look at RLA, our growth summary report across the district, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 6th all met their projected growth and showed an equal or greater typical amount of growth. Those concern areas are still the same. It's at 5th, 7th, and 8th. And then you can see the 2 middle schools below. Now, there are positive trends happening at the middle school. And when I say positive trends, I really mean this in a literal sense for our middle schools right now. So in math, 8th grade didn't even have a blue bar last year. For RLA, some of those places were below 0 and in the negative at this time last year. So we are all starting in a positive place. We just want to make sure that we're putting supports in place so that they're able to grow the amount that they need to, okay? And then you can see where our elementaries are. Again, almost identical to mathematics. 3rd and 4th met expected growth across all campuses. 5th grade is that area of concern, which speaks to some of the things that are happening at middle school. And then we have those pockets of 2nd grade we need to look at and address. Here's our science data. This is where 5th grade kind of breaks that trend a little bit. They did meet their expected growth in 5th grade science. We have a lot of positive things happening in that content area. And of course, you can see 8th grade, and there is some work to do there. And there's where our elementaries sit right now. So I think the next slide, we go into the second report that we tend to dig into a lot at the district level. And this is our projected proficiency, which is exactly what it sounds like. This is a report that helps us maybe predict what could happen on some state assessments, okay? Now remember, it is beginning of the year data, so it is making this projection based off what students have done at previous grade levels, because there hasn't been a lot of instruction at this point. So when you look at these graphs compared to each other across years, the good news is they're either holding their own or they're better than they were the previous year. So we didn't lose any ground in our projections. This report actually becomes more accurate as the year goes on, and they're getting instruction in the grade level of the assessment year that they're taking, and we're looking at that data. I would say the most positive part of this data is looking at our science. Our did not meets decreased from 43.5% to that 37.5% about. So we are moving kids out of that did not meets area. And then they more than doubled the amount of kids that are at that master's level there, and that meat slice of the pie grew quite a bit too from one year to the next. Okay. So the things we are doing to address those places of high concern that you noticed in the data, you've heard a lot about professional development that's happening across the district. all the way from our instructional leaders in the districts and the things they're engaging in. A big piece of that is observation and feedback. All of our administrators and instructional coaches have been engaging with that through our service center so that we're making sure we're supporting our instructional staff and our teachers in having that good classroom instruction and giving them feedback that they can really use to support student achievement. We've been working a lot on instructional frameworks and what mathematics and RLA looks like across the district, so we're making sure we're holding to that high rigor. And then there's been more content-specific training than there ever has before. Another place that we're addressing some of these needs is with the implementation of our local curriculum documents. Some of these things started second semester last year. We can already see they're having an impact, so of course we're continuing those things. We've been providing some clarity and uniformity across our district with pacing guides, so that's a piece that we can monitor and support campuses and teachers with. You probably hear lots of things about unit assessments and those acronyms of EOUs and MOUs. I think we get a lot of questions on those because they are rigorous. There are temperature checks that we take with data in between our map windows because they're based on those smaller units of instruction. So we're kind of temperature checking along the way. They are very rigorous assessments. They're built around Release Star and questions that our service center provides through our TEACS resource and TEACS Bank curriculum management system. So that's been an adjustment in our classrooms here and across the district of what those rigorous problems look like. Also, a big thing that's happened this year is around our standards-based report card with kinder and first grade. I think that's important to know because there was a complete realignment of that this year. All of our campus administrators were part of that project with us and instructional coaches on what we were going to report on those standards-based report cards that go home. And then all of our kinder and first grade teachers had 2 opportunities. One was voluntary over the summer. We had probably about 50 kindergarten and first grade teachers show up. And then one of our October professional development days, all kinder and first grade teachers got together and worked on the assessments that are happening uniformly so that we're communicating on those standards-based report cards, a common message about what kids know. That is so important for us to know because the older kids get, the more difficult it is to close some of those gaps that you see at 5th grade and at middle school. So if we can address some of those needs right there and making sure that we're reporting on really rigorous things and our assessments match that, we're going to solve some of those problems before they get to upper elementary and middle school. Of course, anytime that we have map data at the district level and at the campus level, they dig into that data, they have protocols to look at it, and it really drives what's happening in intervention and enrichment times across those campuses. And then another big thing that has happened this year is we have restructured our instructional coaching and coordinator team so that each content area has a support system that's dedicated to that content area, okay? So that's a big thing that's happened pretty recently. So that is a quick look at where we are with map data right now before we are about to pretty much start our middle of the year window starting in December. So we'll kind of see how those numbers change and how students are growing. But are there any questions you have right now?
Yes, ma'am. Can you speak a little bit on this content training you're saying we're doing more of than ever before?
So of course, you've heard about the summer professional development probably several times in this meeting and other places where we're really looking at what does good math instruction look like? What does good reading instruction look like? The strong foundations planning that you see up there where it talks about the instructional frameworks. I'm going to share some data with you later in the evening about how many people participated in that. But before we could start the instructional framework writing, we had to build some common knowledge about what best research-based instructional strategies are according to TEA. And so we had large groups of instructional coaches and teachers participate in that professional development, just on what best practices are in those classrooms. And then, of course, we had beginning of year training that happened in our classrooms right before this MAP window opened. And then on those October professional development days, teachers were in training, and some of them even teacher-led or teacher collaborated with just across the district. And then our instructional coaching team, expectations are a little different across campuses, but for the most part, they're required to provide a certain number of trainings each month on their campus for RLA, math, and science, and at secondary, sometimes social studies. So that's what that professional development piece, when we talk about content specific, look like. I hope that answered your
Yes,
question.
ma'am, it did.
Okay.
That way when y'all come back, we can talk about it next go around.
Did it work? Right. Okay, all right. Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead.
Go ahead, Cliff.
When you look at the, like you referenced the 8th grade math, that diamond or that level that y'all are
Yes.
looking to hit, is that based off what they did last year?
So because it is beginning of year growth, that summary growth report is a fall to fall measurement. So that is how that cohort of kids did. It's not looking at 8th grade, it's not looking at 8th grade in two sets of kids. It's looking at that cohort of kids, how much did they grow from fall 2023 to fall 2024 in that year's time, and how prepared are they?
So we are adjusting those numbers.
Mhm. Yes.
We don't adjust them.
We don't adjust them. They're based on the assessment. Sorry, I didn't.
It's a norm reference
Right.
test, so that's what we need to talk about.
Right.
It's a norm reference test.
So yes, we don't adjust. It's adjusted by what that specific cohort of kids did over a year's time, and how much instructed impacted their achievement.
And it's real important to understand, when we say norm reference, it's a nationally norm reference. So just like you use the analogy of a, percentile of an infant when you go in and get a weight, this is what all, that diamond is indicative of what every 6th grader or every 5th grader across, yes, should be reaching. So that's why it's really important to understand that part.
Yes, thank you.
Can you tell me again about the restructuring that y'all doing?
So some things that have happened are, specifically in the area of science, Mr. Merrick, our coordinator for science, we have asked him to focus on secondary campuses. That freed up his schedule to attend all secondary science collaboratives in tested areas. So he is on secondary campuses, in their classrooms, and in their CTs every day. So then we still have elementary science to address, right? So we have a phenomenal district integration technology team who just happened to have instructional coaches in it who had some science background. So that team of instructional coordinators, instructional coaches that usually but who did a great job supporting digital integration in our classrooms, is now focusing on elementary science. And they have hit the ground running. I think they've met with every campus, and this has only been in the last month or so, about a month. They have met with every campus. They have been in science classrooms. They have started writing lessons for teachers, and they are just really doing some great things.
And being pretty well received?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Ms. Paula. Is being pretty well received?
I would agree so. I think you would have to ask our campus principals, but they're all smiling and giving me thumbs up. So I think they're very, very happy with the current situation. Yeah.
Sorry, Ms. Paula.
That's okay. I interrupted you. The IT, they share campuses, correct?
There are a couple of them that don't have to do that, but overall most of them do. So we have asked them to do a really big task that they have stepped up to do, and we're hoping that provides that extra support to teachers. Yes, I would love it if they had their own campus and could be there all the time, but that's where we are.
How many shared campuses? Elementary?
Cannon and Hardee's stay on their campuses full time. Metter and Lagway share a coach. Parmley and Turner share a coach.
So I recently had some discussion with some people in our community as well about our academics. It's a big topic of conversation as well. And so the point I made to them was too that we are seeing academic improvements, but it's a marathon, it's not a sprint.
Right.
You know, we have, of course, our superintendent, she has experience dealing with academically struggling districts where she turned campuses from F campuses to B campuses in 2 years, and then the following years of A campus, so the improvements are coming, you know.
Absolutely.
It's a new time here in Willis ISD, it's a new standard of accountability that will help hold my whole school district too, and I think we're hitting the ground running, so.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your report.
And we see this, and there are lots of places to celebrate, but we're not satisfied either. I mean, the urgency is there, and we are seeing lots of impact in positive ways, but we realize some of those places aren't growing as much as we would like them to, and we are looking at those needs and how we can support them.
It's gonna happen.
Can you speak a little bit about the second grade reading?
About some of those places.
What are we doing to address that?
Well, some of it was through just the report card piece and how we're building up the rigor in kindergarten and first grade.
Our first graders don't get report cards.
They do get a standards-based report
What's the
card.
standards?
So standards-based report card, and the difference is, so if you are a second grader and above and you get a report card, you're gonna see like a 90 in math or an 87 in math, or, you know, hopefully not lower than that, but that happens, right? So the 9 weeks time is basically summed up by a number grade. Our kinder and first grade report cards look a little bit different. They don't get an overall number grade. They have a list of standards or learning targets, and we communicate how well they did on that standard. For example, in first grade, one might say, can you compose and decompose numbers up to 120? And we would report, are they developing in that area? Have they mastered that? So it's based on some really specific criteria instead of an overall number grade.
And so this year you have uniform testing standards.
That is the difference.
So
the
some of that could be, we did not last year.
Right. So the standards-based report card has been in place for a while. The difference is the rigor of what we're reporting on those report cards, and now everyone's assessing the same way to that level of rigor. That's the part that has changed. So to close those gaps in second grade, we've got to address some things in kinder and first.
Absolutely.
Right.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Great job, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item H, delinquent tax collection report.
I don't believe she needs an introduction, but I will introduce Ms. Leslie Stouty from Purdue Brandon for the Board of Delinquent Tax Report.
Thank you, Garrett. Appreciate that. Good evening, Dr. James, Board of Trustees, and Ms. DeLosa. It's a pleasure to be here this evening and provide the delinquent tax collection report for the fall. As we go into this, I'd like to remind you every time that these are the delinquent taxes only. The tax office is doing an outstanding job of collecting taxes before they come to me. For example, to put it in perspective, the tax office collected over 97% of the district's taxes before turnover. So, by way of example, they go delinquent February 1. The taxpayers get a notice of delinquency. They get a notice from the tax office called a 3307 notice in May. And if the taxes, that 3307 notice, let me back up, notifies the taxpayer that the entities have contracted with a delinquent tax firm, and if it's not paid by July 1, there will be a collection penalty that becomes part of the tax lien. And so July 1, taxes are still unpaid, that collection penalty attaches, and then it comes to my firm and we begin the collection process. So under 3% of your taxpayers on the 2023 taxes were turned over to us, so that's great news for the district. Your taxpayers are by far paying their taxes. We're getting less than 3% this year, and I think that's pretty on target with what was turned over last year as well. So I like to remind everybody of that. So it's not doom and gloom. There's very little meat on the bone every year, and this report is a culmination of the years of delinquencies. So first chart we have in our pack is our account by status chart, and this gives me a bird's eye view or a snapshot of the entire delinquent roll and how the accounts are categorized. So you'll notice the largest section is the action pending section at 38%. Most of these accounts are the 2023 delinquencies that I just mentioned that were turned over to us on July 1. So we're currently trying to contact the taxpayer, get them on the phone, get them a letter, do the title research, see if there's a lien holder on the property, get the lien holder on the phone, send them a letter, trying to get somebody's attention so that they can get back to us. We can work out a payment agreement. They can tell us, I'm selling that property, I have a closing on December 1st, can you hold that type of thing where we can put a commitment to pay on the account, just some kind of communication to let the taxpayer know what's going on and how we can get the account into a paid status or into a payment agreement. Next largest section you see is the deferral section at 27%. These are taxpayers that are 65 or older or have a disability, and they have elected to defer payment of their taxes on their residence homestead. So by law, you can only have one residence homestead, so they're only entitled to do this on the property where they reside and have contacted the appraisal district that the property is their homestead, filed their deferral affidavit. Once that status is on the account, we don't actively collect. We suppress letters. We don't hassle these folks. That deferred status stays on the property until the property owner ceases to use the property as their homestead. Next largest section we have is the litigation section at 14%. So these are the taxpayers that didn't get on the payment plan, defaulted the payment plan, we couldn't find them, etc. So sometimes it's necessary for us to file a delinquent suit to let them know the seriousness of the situation, and all too often we work out some kind of payment agreement, come to some kind of resolution during the pendency of that lawsuit. This section encompasses everything in that section. Could be suit just filed, could be that a trial setting is coming up, could be that we have a judgment or property is set for tax sale, anything in that realm. Next largest section is bad address section at 10%. This is simply taxpayers that have failed to maintain a good address with the county appraisal district. We work on these year round. When our letters come back to us, we try to find a better address so that we can reach the taxpayer and let them know the seriousness of the situation. Next chart we have is the dollar range chart. So this really just gives me an idea, tells us how to work the accounts. We work the delinquent tax roll top down so that we can maximize our efforts for the district. You'll notice the majority of the accounts, or 24% rather, are in the $2,500 to $1,000 range, and these are base tax dollars that we're talking about. In the $10,000 and up range, the majority of those accounts have tax deferrals and have had them for several years. Anything in that range that is not in a tax deferral is in litigation, or we're working it into litigation. There were 2 separate properties in that status that we had set for the November 5th tax sale, and both of those taxpayers contacted us and paid off the accounts before the tax sale. So those were pulled from the tax sale with payments, so good result there. Also, there was one account that consisted of 2 parcels that just received their religious exemption. So they will be removed from the roll altogether once the appraisal district, or once the tax office receives that supplement from the appraisal district. Next up, we have the tax year chart, which tells you what percentage of taxes is attributable to each tax year. You'll see the largest section at 31%. Is the 2023 tax year. That's the one we're currently diligently working to get things resolved. So that's the largest percentage. They fall drastically after that. 16 and prior, some of the reasons for those older delinquencies are going to be some of your over 65 deferrals or properties that we believe don't exist. For example, it could be a property that the appraisal district does not currently have mapped, or we believe there's an issue with the mapping. We work with the appraisal district in trying to get those resolved, to get those removed from the roll if they don't truly exist. If we can't find it on a map, we can't sell it at a tax sale. So we do often code those and suppress those, and those are represented on the first chart, the account breakdown chart, in the uncollectible section, FYI. Next up, I have 6 charts showing historical collection data of tax year 2018, where you'll see through the end of September, we were at 91.54% collected for what was turned over to us in 2019. And we have the same representation for tax years 19 through 2023. I won't go over all of them, but for 2023 through the end of September, we were at 93.27% collected of what was turned over to us to work on in July of this year. So I mentioned earlier that we had a tax sale in November. There were 7 Willis properties that were set on that tax sale. And 2 of the ones in the 10,000 and up, they were paid prior to the sale. If you're interested in future tax sale listings, our website, pbfcm.com, which is on the front of the report, you can see those future listings on the website or sign up for a weekly email notification. Tax sales are held online through a company called Real Auction, and bidders have to pre-register. There's also instructions on how to do that when we post the tax sale on our website. And we continue to have monthly dockets with the 284th District Court to keep the cases moving along. Are there any questions about the report?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Financial bill payment and bond project summary.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Good evening again. For the financial reports, we will take a quick look at the district's largest expenditures for the month of October. The district had 18 checks over $50,000 to start. These are the expenditures that you're going to see on a monthly recurring basis. We had 2 checks for food and dairy costs from Child Nutrition Fund, 6 checks related to health insurance claims and fees to Blue Cross Blue Shield, and 1 check to First Financial for payroll benefits. Looking at the general fund, there were a total of 5 checks over $50,000. 2 were for Entergy. This was just due to the timing and receipt of the payments for the September and October billing cycles. Our recurring payment tied to the district's MOU for the district's SROs. We had one check to Suncoast Resources. That's for fuel for our transportation department, which are our buses. And the last one was to Methodist Hospital. This was in relation to our contract for our athletic trainers through that department, and that contract is through July of 2025, so this is our last year on that contract. We had 3 checks related to our bond funds, and this is in relation to the turf projects, the fine arts edition, and architect fees related to elementary number 7. Then lastly, there was 1 check to Preferred Technologies related to Safe Cycle 1 as we finish out the access control projects throughout the district. We take a quick look at our district-wide summary. We had a total of $14.7 million in revenues. At this point in the year, it's primarily tied to state aid, and $15.7 million in expenditures. We did not have any irregular costs in the month of October. It is normal for this time of the year to have a negative cash flow. And that's another reason why the state requires us and looks at our fund balance to make sure that we have enough cash and reserves to be able to handle this time of the year. Starting this month, November, we will start to receive our local tax revenue from Montgomery County, which we'll receive the bulk of now through the end of January. Budget-wise, there was no major concerns there. Our ADA in Willis ISD is currently above projections, and I'll be bringing a budget amendment later tonight to align our current budget with those projections. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Item J, construction update.
Good morning, Dr. James.
Dee Dee?
Sorry. We're going to give a brief update this evening, just a small update of some of the current construction projects and some of the future projects. The middle school number 3 is currently now under budget. We are 8 days behind schedule as June 1st. Now keep that in mind, the 8 days, we started 45 days late for the project due to permitting issues. So we've increased that 45 days now down to 8 days, but in that 8 days, there are currently 30 working days of bad weather. So we have 30 bad weather days still in the schedule. So that 8 days encompasses very nicely in our schedule. So we're still very comfortable about June 1st. In the project, we are adding touchscreen technology to all the classrooms, and we are still on schedule for August of 25. Here's a few pictures of the middle school. This is the detention pond that we're building out back. You can look at the vehicles that are inside of it, and you can see the mass size of how big that hole in the ground really is. This is the front of the building. Of course, we have the logo of the Texas and the W on the front. We have actually already started drywalling the inside of the building. We're putting ceilings in and glazing of the exterior. So the building is looking really nice as of now, and we are going to invite the board to a site visit in January for all the board and the cabinet to go out and tour the project in January. This is the Lynn Lucas Band Hall addition that we are currently on. You know, the first phase of this was take the existing band hall and renovate that, so we've done that, turned that over, and then what you see there in green in that little section of the building is the new addition that we're adding on. And that is scheduled to open in January of 25. This is the chiller plant yard at the Lynn Lucas, behind the Lynn Lucas. We have the cooling tower in place, and they have installed the majority of the equipment. So hopefully that will be up and running by January as well. This was our great project of the detention pond that we ended up doing of the baseball field. If you ever took a look at it, it was about half that size, and it was completely full of trees, and it was only about 2 foot deep. So now it's quite a large detention pond in the city, where we've worked with the city, and they're very pleased with what the outcome has become.
That job's 100% done now?
Yes. Yeah, that project is 100%. The upcoming projects that we're looking at is elementary number 7 from the 22 bond. Currently, I know that there was a lot of, we wasn't sure where we were going to build it, on the adjacent property or the 15 acres that we currently own. But as of right now, we are moving forward with the 15 acres, and we will be building it on that property.
Property we previously owned, correct?
Yes, the one that we previously owned, we have released the design team to start on that 15 acres for the site of it. The new transportation center, it's from the May of 24 bond, which will be at the north end of our district on the 45 current acres that we had. We'll be on the back of that. That's where the new transportation facility will go. The new 9th grade addition to the Willis High School, that will be from the May of 24 bond. We will be breaking ground on that one, looks like in October of 25, and turning that over in August of 27. The Willis High School parking lot expansion from the 24 May bond. We'll be breaking ground on some of those parking lots. As we know, when we put in the 9th grade center, we're taking some of that parking away. So we need to replenish that parking. The new CTE hay storage, we finally received all of our documents and our contract, which was holding the whole thing up. So we're looking forward to start sending that out for bids and hopefully we can bring that back to the board in December for approval, for contract approval. And that's from the 2020 bond. And the Willis locker room screen walls, which was the same, we were waiting on contracts, and that's from the 2020 bond. Those are the current projects that we have listed that we'll be working on over the next 3 years. Any questions?
When are we breaking ground on the parking lot expansion at the high school?
We're looking at late spring of 25. So
After spring break, probably.
I'm sorry?
After spring break, probably.
We're going to try to get some of it done during spring break. Our goal is when we break ground in October of 25, whatever we take away from the high school of that parking, we'll have at least that much of it done, so we won't disrupt any of the parking.
And on elementary 7, are we still anticipating an August, fall of 26 opening?
Yes. Yeah, that is slated for opening up August of 26.
Are you gonna bring back to us, when you start the parking lot expansion, the report and stuff that you were getting done? To show that you were talking about getting a study done on the traveling in and out of the high school. Have you already got that done?
We haven't finished it, no.
Okay, when you do, will you bring that back to us?
Yes.
I appreciate
Sure
it.
will.
Perfect. Item 8, consent agenda.
accept the superintendent's recommendation and approve the consent agenda items as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Carson. Do we have a second? Got a second by Mr. Jones. All those, is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. All right. Get my notes here. At this time, we will adjourn into closed session for the purposes for which closed sessions are authorized by, get my little notes here. Title 5, Chapter 551, Texas Government Code, Sections .071 through .084. A, discuss teacher resignations and consider approval of teacher appointments, Texas Government Code 551.074. B, real estate pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.072. Security, Texas Government Code 551.076 and 551.089. D, consultation with attorney by phone pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.071. And E, personally identifiable student information, Texas Government Code 551.0821. It is 7:20. The board will now reconvene into open session. It is 10:01 p.m. Are there any motions for closed session? Mr. Williams.
Move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation and approve the professional contractual personnel listed.
Perfect. We have a motion by Mr. Williams, a second by Mr. Travis. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Are there any other motions for closed session? Perfect. Discussion possible action items. A, discuss consider approval of culinary competition out-of-state trip to Florida.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak here tonight. I'm here to talk about an exciting educational opportunity for our culinary arts students. We have been given the chance to participate in the Cook Around the World competition at Epcot in Florida. This competition is a unique event where high school culinary teams from across the U.S. will come together to showcase their skills and creativity in a global cooking challenge. The students will also have a chance to have some recreational time as well at both at Walt Disney World and the Universal Studio theme parks. This trip will include approximately 20 students and 4 district employee chaperones. The cost of the trip is approximately $2,000 per person. However, I do want to highlight that the funds for this trip have already been raised or will continue to be raised through a variety of sources, including meals prepared by our students for staff, some catered banquets, and generous donations. So if you have any questions, I can answer those at this time.
Mr. Carson.
I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation and approve the out-of-state trip request for the Willis High School Culinary Arts Program.
We have a motion by Mr. Carson, second by Ms. Lagway. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Item C, discuss consider approval of instructional framework.
Thank you, Mr. President, Board, Dr. James, Mr. Lawson. As you know, the superintendent has hiring authority.
Hey, I apologize. Hold on just a second. Yeah. B, discuss consider approval of change in verbiage of DC policy. I'm going to go with that one.
So that's what you're gonna talk about.
Gotcha, thank you. Superintendent has hiring authority at this time from June 1st to August 31st. Some of the issues that we've run into is waiting on, we're missing out on some candidates in the spring. If we have some openings in the fall or after the August 31st, we are having to have students sit without a teacher until we come to the board to get that approved. So we're asking to propose an update to DC Local where the board delegates final hiring authority for contractual personnel other than district level administrators. That will allow us to get the teachers in. And then from April 1st to August 31st to delegate to the superintendent the hiring authority to employ district level administrators.
I move we accept the superintendent's recommendation and approve the discussed changes to BC, DC local with the following exceptions. April 1st needs to be changed to June 1st through August 31st. And the following sentence, in the strikeout of the original policy, we want to add back in, the superintendent shall inform the board of any persons hired under this authority.
We have a motion by Ms. Traylor, a second by Coach Perry. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to C, discuss, consider approval of instructional framework.
All right, thank you again, board and Dr. James and Ms. DeLosa. We are here tonight to ask your approval of our RLA and mathematics frameworks. I know it's late, but I want to just brag on the work that's been done. So the people who are trying to hide behind me right now, who need to move up a little more, have hung with me all night, okay? And I did give them permission to go home, but they stayed because they've just done incredible work, and I just need to brag on them. So I will let them introduce themselves and tell you why they're here in just a minute. First of all, our instructional frameworks. Like I said, I need to brag a little bit on the work that we've done. It was through a partnership with our Education Service Center called Strong Foundations Planning. Part of the committee that did this work included 9 district leaders, 13 campus administrators, 20 instructional coaches, 21 teachers, and we have done this work over 10 collaborative sessions that started at the end of September and ended just a few days ago. So it was an intense amount of work in a short amount of time, and it was just really incredible what they came up with. So you'll get to see those frameworks. You have them tonight in front of you, and we're talking a little about them. But really why this is so important, not only does it set the rigor and high expectations for instruction in our math and RLA classrooms, but it allows us the opportunity to say, does the instructional materials that we currently have help us reach those high commitments that we've made in our instructional framework? So it's going to lead to even more in-depth work that needs to be done, and you can see the timeline of some of those things there. So when we talk about a framework and the work that they've done, part of what you're going to see in just a minute is there was 3 components that we worked on. What is our vision for RLA and mathematics? What are our beliefs about those 2 content areas? And then if that's our vision and that's our beliefs, what actions are we going to back those things up with? So this is our product right now. It's in the final phases of being kind of put together and polished up. So we've made it look nice for tonight, but that may not be, the words won't change, but the look may change a little bit because we just want it pasted all over the district. So before we ask for your approval, they're going to introduce themselves really quickly and just read you a really brief part of that framework that just kind of spoke to them during the process of creating this. Looks like math is up first. So you know what you want to read. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and read that part.
Hi, my name is Rosalind Kizzy, and I'm the math instructional coach at Lagway Elementary. And I'm going to read the mathematics vision. Our vision is for all students to see themselves as mathematicians who are equipped with mathematical skills to prepare them for the future of their choice.
Hi, my name's Fabi Lozano. I work at Lagway Elementary. I'm a 5th grade teacher, and I wanted to read our math belief statement 4, one that really resonated with me. And it says, we believe that all WISD students will be competent and confident problem solvers by embracing mathematical challenges, taking risks, exploring new approaches, learning from their mistakes, and demonstrating perseverance.
And now for RLA.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Miller, and I am an instructional coach at the high school. I'm going to be reading the RLA Instructional Framework Vision Statement. And our vision is for every student to be a confident and successful reader, writer, listener, speaker, and thinker now and in the future.
And my name is Taylor Harper. I'm an English 2 teacher at Willis High School. And one of the belief statements from the English vision framework that stuck out to me is we believe engaging every student in grade level content-based complex text will systematically build knowledge and vocabulary critically for developing comprehension and stronger readers across all content areas.
Aren't they fabulous? And I mean, those are high expectations to live up to, so we have a lot of work to do, but they have set the bar high. They did great work. I cannot brag enough. So we are going to wrap this up by saying we are asking you to approve our new instructional frameworks and to explore the opportunity to look into TEA-approved high-quality instructional materials and just see where we are in that process right now.
Ms. Travis.
I move to approve the RLA and mathematics instructional frameworks and to explore the TEA high-quality instructional materials in the corresponding subject areas.
We have a motion by Ms. Traylor, a second by Mr. Carson. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Go
all.
home.
Item D, discuss, consider approval of grant application. 1, SSI Community Partnership Grant Cohort and Learning Acceleration Support Opportunity Cycle 3.
Good evening, Board. I'm here tonight to request your approval to apply for the 2 following grant opportunities on behalf of Willis ISD. The first one is the SSI Community Partnership Grant, Cohort 4. We are eligible for this grant due to CC Hardy's low income percentage. This is to improve parent-family engagement. Award amounts are up to $550,000. Then the next big kahuna, I like to call this grant application, it's 111 pages. Months of planning have went into this grant, and we've really sat down with Dr. James and ITNL to decide what of these grant opportunities within this big umbrella of LASSO are going to be the best for the district. You would ask why we aren't applying for everything, but it's because we're trying to make sure that we're not taking on too much, so we are doing what we're taking on well, and that we're meeting those compliance measures. Every grant has their own compliance measures, so we want to make sure that we're staying compliant with the state. So the few that are highlighted in purple are what our grant application contains: strong foundations implementation, blended learning, advanced placement computer science principles, technology lending, instructional leadership, and strong foundations school improvement, professional learning communities. In total, if you total up the award amount, this is a little over $1 million that we are asking the state for. They intend to give about $160 million away from this grant opportunity. This is competitive, so we have worked really hard to make sure that our application is the best it can be for our district so that we can bring some of these funds and opportunities in.
What's the file, Megan? When do you file it? You've already filed for this grant?
I have not. So I have to have documentation that y'all approve me sending in the application on behalf of the district.
Mr. Carson.
I move that we approve the Willis ISD application for the SSI Community Partnership Grant and the Learning Acceleration Support Opportunity Grant.
We have a motion by Mr. Carson, a second by Ms. Traylor. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Item E, discuss, consider approval of general fund budget amendments for the 2024-2025 budget year.
Sir, good evening again. I'm presenting to you tonight an amendment for the budget amendment for the 24-25 fiscal year. I talked a little bit about this earlier. This is a little earlier than we typically do a budget amendment, but given that our ADA is out projecting what I originally built the budget on, I wanted to bring it to you tonight to go ahead and update it with current projections. So right now our ADA is sitting right around 8550. Remember back in the summer I adopted the budget on 8400 ADA. So I am able to project a little over $1.1 million more in state aid that we will receive this year based on our ADA. That's the good news. The not so good news is that our federal funding in the form of our SHARS and Medicaid funding is being cut a little more. This is the second year in a row that we are projecting it to be less. This is a statewide issue. It is not a Willis ISD issue. This is something that every school district in the state of Texas is dealing with right now as far as cuts to SHARS and Medicaid funding. I'm also able to account for the land sales as far as in the forms of the easement sales to TxDOT and Entergy in our revenue for this year, since we did receive those funds. So we are amending the revenue budgets, $850,000. For the expenditure side of the budget, the largest increase is related to the bus purchase the board approved in October. The current timeline to receive those buses is in early spring, and the remaining adjustments is to align the budget with current projections. We will have some additional expenses in the spring tied to planning for middle school number 3, as well as some additional security and technology projects. Also, just to note, while this is increasing the budget, any additional projects in these areas that meet the board threshold for approval, we will bring to you for approval. This is simply for planning purposes and aligning the budget for those planning purposes. Be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Jones.
I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation and amend the 2024-2025 general fund budget as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Jones, a second by Mr. Carson. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Item F, discuss, consider approval of resolution establishing one-time retention incentive payment for district personnel. I think we skipped that. It only lagged a little bit.
Am I going to take it away from you?
I'm not going to take it away.
Okay. I am happy to present a resolution for a one-time retention payment for all district staff and school resource officers. The payment will be $500 and will be made to district staff on every level that meet the requirements. The requirements being that each individual be hired on or before November 1st and have not tendered their intent to resign by the end of this calendar year. The payment will be made the week of December 16th, which is the week before Christmas break. The projected cost associated with these payments is approximately $625,000. For funding, the district will utilize our general operating board adopted budgets, but it is made possible by the district utilizing the last remaining ESSER funds to offset other operational costs in our budget. I'm happy to answer any specific questions.
Mr. Williams.
Move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation and approve the proposed resolution establishing a one-time payment for district personnel to meet the established guidelines noted in the resolution.
We have a motion by Mr. Williams, a second by Coach Perry. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? All opposed or abstaining? Okay, so we have motion carries 6-0, 1 abstain. Item G, discuss and consider approval of construction contracts exceeding $25,000 but below $50,000 as required by board policy CV local.
Yes, sir. As the board is aware, with the new administration, the district has spent some time and resources reviewing local policy. Reviewing local procurement policy, the standard board approval threshold has been and still is $50,000 for general purchases. However, there's also a separate policy that relates specifically to construction, which state that the district seek board approval for the delivery method on all projects over $50,000, but for the resulting contracts over $25,000. Given this, the district felt it pertinent to review contracts that fell within this threshold and are presenting that list to you tonight. The list is primarily made of projects tied to the updates made this summer at Yates Stadium, the shot put and the discus fields at Willis High School, and the fencing at the softball field. The remaining are professional services, engineering, surveying, and architect costs associated with the new elementary school site, as well as a project at Willis High School with the locker room wall. We are also in the process of further reviewing local policy to make the appropriate updates based on efficiency and recommendations from the board, which we will bring to y'all at a later date. Happy to answer any specific questions.
Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir. I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve construction contracts exceeding $25,000 as required by board policy CV local.
We have a motion by Mr. Jones, a second by Mr. Williams. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Item H, discuss, consider approval of selection of Huckabee as architect for the 9th grade center.
Good evening. Last month, we came asking for your approval to negotiate with our vendors. We negotiated with Huckabee, and Willis ISD successfully negotiated a beneficial rate of 5.5% with Huckabee to design and oversee the Willis ISD 9th grade campus. There were a field of 15 different respondents that came through the RFP for the Bond 2024 architectural services, and we are asking for you to consider approval of the Huckabee as the architect for the 9th grade center.
Mr. Jones.
Yes, sir. I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation and approve the architecture firm of Huckabee for design of the Willis ISD 9th grade campus.
We have a motion by Mr. Jones, a second by Mr. Carson. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Item I, discuss and consider approval of selection of VOK as the architect of the Transportation Center.
Again, on October 15th, we negotiated for the Transportation Center with the same process that we used for the 9th grade center, and Willis ISD successfully negotiated a beneficial rate with VOK of 4.85% for to oversee and design the Willis ISD Transportation Center. We are asking for your approval as the architect VOK for the Transportation Center.
Mr. Carson.
I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation and approve the architectural firm of VLK for design of the Willis ISD new transportation center.
We have a motion by Mr. Carson, a second by Ms. Traylor. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Item J, discuss consider approval of Willis Track Extension vendor selection.
Thank you, Board. If you remember back in May, we sent this out to bid. It was a public bid that we bidded for. We received bids that were over budget, so the entire project was a lot over budget than what we were anticipating. So we broke it up into multiple pieces, and we did it in-house by hiring local vendors to do the project. One of them, the first phase of it, was the shot put area. And then this is the last of it, which is the track extension along with the retaining wall. We received 3 bids for this particular scope of work, which one bid was incomplete. So we solicited 3, we received 2 bids. And, am I on the wrong one? I did that right. I'm sorry.
There it is.
We received 3 bids, which one was incomplete, so therefore we had 2 bids that we did receive that were complete. We selected the low bid on this one. It's of a Hellis Construction of $114,225. In your board book, you will see the RS Means and the cooperative letter signed by their contractor, by their cooperative vendor, and the RS Means. It will all be attached. We are adding an additional $10,000 worth of contingency on this, which will be part of their base bid, and for a total of $124,225. This is funded by the 2015 bond program. Now, we'll say out of the $10,000 in contingency, if it's not used, then we'll come back to the board and we'll do a deductive change order to their contract and remove what contingency was not used.
What did both those projects come in? Did we come in, was that in the shot put area that came in where we thought?
Our initial budget was $150,000 for the whole entire project. We're gonna come in around $152,000.
Mr. Carson.
I move we accept the superintendent's recommendation and approve the selection of Hellis Construction for $124,225 for the Willis High School track extension as presented and authorize the superintendent to negotiate the contract pursuant to Texas Government Code 2254.004.
We have a motion by Mr. Carson, a second by Ms. Traylor. I do want to add here, just to make sure that that note is out of the 2015 bond program. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Item L, I believe, sorry. Item L, discuss, consider approval of EMA engineering contracts from original budget to final cost of work.
Did you do Ken?
Are we tabled?
Yeah, it was in the process of got it, yeah.
We're on K, right?
Yes,
The
I
right-of-way
jumped
for
one,
Entergy.
yes, sorry, I got up at
Yeah.
450. Discuss, consider approval of proposed easement for Entergy Willis Middle School number 3.
Yeah, in your book, you'll see, Entergy has come to the district, requesting a right-of-way to run the utilities for the middle school number 3. The south of the property, all along the south end of the, where middle school is a utility easement by Entergy. They are requesting an underground easement from us to run power from their easement to our building. There will be no cost that they'll pay us for this. It's basically running the power to our building. They're asking for permission for that easement. So we're asking the board for permission to grant them easement, to run power to the building at no cost to us.
Mr. Williams.
Move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation and approve a resolution as a non-exclusive easement to Entergy for the utility easement on the new middle school number 3 property to install a power line underground for the new campus.
We have a motion by Mr. Williams, a second by Mr. Carson. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Now to item L, discuss, consider approval of EMA engineering contracts from original budget to final cost of work.
The board, we would like to table that at this time, if you'll grant us permission to table this.
Okay, let me ask a question here. Is the only thing that we're doing tonight is to authorize the payment to them for the work that they've completed?
Correct.
Okay.
The discounted amount, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We're good.
We're good.
Yes.
We're good, covered it.
So do we need to go ahead and,
Yeah, you already approved it.
Yeah, we've already approved the discounted amount.
okay.
And I want to thank you for getting that negotiated down the way you did. Good job.
All right, item M, discuss, consider approval of naming middle school number 3.
Good evening, President Hagemeyer, board members, Dr. James. I'm proud to have served as the committee chair for the naming committee. I'm not sure how I got nominated to be committee chair. I think everybody else stepped backwards at that moment. But anyway, I was going to have the committee members stand. I think there's still only one here, Diane Ibner is on the committee. There were 14 members on the committee. And we tried to follow board policy to ensure a transparent, consistent approach in what we were doing. The initial meeting I held on October 24th. There were many, many names submitted. There are many worthy people in Willis that deserve to have schools named after them, areas named after them. But we narrowed it down to 5 at that point on the October 24th meeting. We came back on November 7th, and I went around the table and had every person talk about each person of the 5 that were the top 5 vote getters at the October 24th meeting. Some of them knew some of them didn't know anything about them. I learned a great deal in listening to people talk about the people that were in the top 5. Our task was to bring you 3 names in rank order. Now then, when we did the 5, the committee asked, could we do a 6th name? And I'll explain that in just a minute. And the committee agreed to add a 6th name to that list. And there was a reason for that. The 6th name that they wanted to add was a combination of 2 of the names. They wanted to honor the Calfee family for their contributions to this community. But they also wanted to honor the history of that area where the White Oak School was the original school on that property. And so they came up basically with a hyphenated name of Calfee White Oak. And that was included in the vote. The top three names, in order, as voted by the committee, were Calfee White Oak was number 1, Edgar Strotter was number 2, and Jimmy Reese was number 3 for the middle school. Now, the committee did want me to mention to the board that they would love for you to consider naming some auxiliary facilities, to add names to some of our auxiliary facilities, because they said some people contributed great amount to the district, but it might not be for a school. They suggested maybe the CTE Center could be named after someone. The Ag Barn could be named after someone. And so they asked that I mention to the board, you know, we've got Elementary 7 coming up, but then also consider naming some of the auxiliary facilities for some of these people that have contributed so much to this community and to this school district. So there are your 3, Calfee White Oak. And White Oak is 2 separate words, White Oak, Edgar Strotter and Jimmy Reese. Any questions?
Well, first of all, Mr. Crowe, we want to thank you for chairing the committee for us and all the work that y'all put in for this. We were able, is that too loud? We were able to discuss it as well. And the thing we discussed back in closed session as well about the naming was that we wanted to keep it with an individual name,
okay,
rather than do the hyphenation thing. So that's what we discussed back there as well. So that's what we decided what we're going to do. So, Mr. President, I'll go ahead and make a motion. I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation and approve the naming of middle school number 3 as Homer C. Calfee Middle School.
And just so you know, I had told the committee that the board could do that.
Yes, sir.
That's completely within their board policy to be able to do that. And so I appreciate you.
And I do want to add though before, I guess, as well that, you know, the history behind the school and the property, Homer C. Calfee building the White Oak School was the first school on the property.
Right.
So we talked about possibly, besides naming it Homer C. Calfee Middle School, having a plaque inside the school honoring the history of White Oak School, that it was one of the first schools there on that land as well. And as a way to honor that legacy as well.
We have a motion by Mr. Carson, a second by Ms. Lagway. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0. We have one that abstained.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank y'all.
But for those who are on that committee, we appreciate you volunteering your time, and because we know that these are difficult things, but we definitely appreciate you giving of your time. Board member comments. I'm going to go right quick. So one, I want to say thank you to the Lagway staff, the Bradley staff, and all of our admin team that when we had the incident, man, I rolled in there just to see if I needed help, and the only thing I needed to do was get out of the way, so I went home. It was awesome. Second, as far as the bonds, I don't feel that we failed. I feel that we succeeded. The goal in that situation from the planning committee was, we're not good with 4,200 people making that decision. We want to see what 20,000 plus. We had 24,000 show up, and it failed. It didn't pass, but that's okay. We listen, we hear. That's part of it. Our job as the board and as the long-term planning committee is to bring these things to the forefront as we see fit, as we see financially responsible. And so for me personally, I don't want to be here 10 years from now and somebody go, well, y'all didn't see all this growth coming, why didn't you do this? At the end of the day, we did. We put it out there and the people said no, and that's great. I wanted to hear from the public, and we got 24,000 people that showed up and voted. That's awesome. The other thing is, I want to do one thing right quick. Everybody raise their hand. Okay? Now raise it high. Okay? My son sent me a video last night and it slapped me right in the face. Is so all of us have got to raise our hands 100% the first time. Okay? We did it. What do? We step into something and we get 50%. When a 7th grader leads me to water, I got to drink a little bit of it, so I did that. And so I'm asking all of you to this rest of the school year, as we're embracing, we're not focused on bonds, we're focusing on educating and providing the best possible outcomes for our kids. I'm asking you to all give 100% the first time, don't give 50%, and then when you're asked to give 100%. If you're an admin, I ask that you go to your staff and ask them to give 100%. I think it's very important for us right now and where we're at and the times we're at is to give 110% right off the bat. Not as we're asked to do it, but from the very beginning. And so that kind of hit me hard last night when Hayes at 12 sends Audrey and I this video. And then all of a sudden it made sense to me. Because we all did the exact same thing. We raised our hand to here. And then when you say raise it higher, everybody does this. That's what we've been doing. We've been walking into things and doing this. As a district, as a community. And so I'm asking each of y'all, from the get-go, raise your hand high and do everything you can do to make this community better. In this community, the district is a part of this community. And so that's all I'm asking. That's all I got.
I want to congratulate, yeah, I'm a football guy, but what our football team just did has not been done around here since 1928, I believe. When Trent Miller and his family came to Willis, he said it was going to take him 5 years to really build a program. And what he's done, what is your record, 25-5, something like that in 3 years? It's phenomenal, the buy-in, and to see how these kids are playing, and to see, I've seen it definitely influence them in the classroom. I mean, you've got so many kids that your program is sending to college. Thank you. I greatly appreciate that. Now it's a new standard, Coach. Good luck. You know, 10-0 every year. It's hard to, you know. So it's pretty phenomenal to sit there in games and watch us play with teams and do what we've done, and those kids buying. And I want to. It's exciting. I know I'm enjoying every second of it because I've been here long enough that I've been through the ups and downs of all of it for over 20 years. And so it's an exciting time. I see all these programs are starting to do a lot better. And the kids are buying in because we all know they're not getting up to go to Algebra 2, okay? And so that's just the real of it. And so thank you very much. It's an exciting time. I hope everybody's at the playoff game this week.
Coach, you got a few rooms in Dallas.
I see you there.
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion by Mr. Reeves, a second by Ms. Traylor. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.